never alone here. Everyone's connected.
Yes, we're all connected here through the books. Welcome to our channel Lee Book Club. Today we are going to count down on the 15 classic novels of our pick that you should read before you die. Number 15. The Count of Monte Cristo.
Being your friend is always an adventure.
Before he can marry his fiancée Mercedes, Edmond Dantes was framed with treason and sent to jail by his best friend due to jealousy. There he became the friend of Abbé Faria, an old prisoner. Faria became his mentor and inspires his escape. Faria also guides him to a fortune and treasure. After he escaped, he got the treasure and starts his revenge. This is a great story of betrayal, survival, and faith.
What do you want to buy?
Revenge.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Count of Monte Cristo.
Number 14, Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. It is a well-known horror science fiction. A mad scientist tries to create a man-made human life form, and in the end, he created a monster.
It's alive.
The novel has had a considerable influence on literature and on popular culture. It has spawned a complete genre of horror stories, films, and plays. Mary starts to write this book when she was 18 and the book was published in 1823 when she was 20. Although the book has been 200 years old, the story remains strikingly relevant to a contemporary readership through its exploration of scientific advancements and artificial intelligence. Frankenstein has been described by many readers as the first work of science fiction. Number 13, The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis. When we are young, we always like to seek safety by hiding in a box or closet. Our imagination goes wild there. We dream of something special would happen out of our closet. This book perfectly elaborates the dreams of our younger days. 4 English children were moved from the city to an old country house to flee from war.
Impossible.
Narnia is a magical place full of talking animals and mythical creatures that are ruled by the evil White Witch. The youngest of the 4, Lucy, visits Narnia via the magic of a wardrobe in a spare room. Lucy's 3 siblings are with her on her 3rd visit to Narnia. In Narnia, the siblings seem fit to fulfill an old prophecy and find themselves adventuring to save Narnia and their own lives. Time magazine included the novel in its list of the 100 best young adult books of all time, as well as its list of the 100 best English language novels published since 1923. In 2005, Walt Disney Pictures has adapted the story into a highly successful movie. The film helps to visualize all our imaginations from the book. Number 12, Moby-Dick by Herman Melville. Moby-Dick could possibly be the greatest book of the sea ever written. The story is about a hard-to-catch giant white sperm whale named Moby-Dick and the obsessive quest of Ahab, captain of the whaling ship Pequod, taking revenge on Moby-Dick, because on the ship's previous voyage the whale bit off Ahab's leg at the knee. The book was not a commercial success when it was first published in 1851, it only establishes its name as great American novel and the greatest sea storybook in the 20th century. Its opening sentence, "Call me Ishmael," is among those most famous ones in world literature. Number 11, The Call of the Wild by Jack London. The novel tells the story of a dog named Buck, how he was stolen from its comfortable home in California as a pet and sold into service as a sled dog in Alaska. How he survived the brutal realities of frontier life and finally emerges to become a leader in the wild. This book should be read by anyone who loves animals, outdoor life as well as adventurous stories. The book stays on the bestseller list ever since its first publication in 1903. Its lessons regarding adaptability, inner strength, respect for authority, and respect for nature make it an appealing book for all ages. Number 10, Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky. The novel was written by the Russian author Fyodor Dostoevsky and published in 1866. It was often cited as one of the supreme achievements in world literature. Up till now, it has been translated into 13 different languages. A little bit of sidetrack, a leather-bounded first English language edition of this book was auctioned for £13,500 back in 2017. If you have such a book tugged somewhere at home, it might bring you a small fortune. The book is referred to as Dostoevsky's timeless tale of sin. Raskolnikov, a desperately poor student in 19th century, murders an elderly pawnbroker and her daughter. At first, he imagines he can get away from the laws that govern ordinary men, but slowly, his conscience got the upper hand and he struggles. Number 9, I Capture the Castle by Dodie Smith. The book is the first novel by the British writer Dodie Smith. It tells the story of Rose and Cassandra Mortmain, two sisters who are part of an eccentric family living in genteel poverty in a crumbling castle in the 1930s. Ever since it was published in 1948, it has been beloved by young adults, particularly female readers.
I am never going to fall in love. Life is dangerous enough.
The book is not quite famous, but for a certain kind of reader, mostly women and bookish, it is perfect. Once you read it, you fall in love with it, and from then on you're part of a secret club, self-selecting and wildly enthusiastic.
It was my first kiss.
It is. And I'm walking on air.
Number 8, Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. The Big Brother simply does not want you to read this book. It is one of the top 100 banned and most challenged books by the American Library Association. Brave New World is a dystopian social science fiction novel written by English author Aldous Huxley. In the factious future world of the book, humans are genetically bred, socially indoctrinated, and pharmaceutically prepped to passively uphold a harmonious but authoritarian society, all at the cost of our freedom. This book is always in comparison with 1984 by George Orwell. If you want to know why the Big Brother hates you to read it, you probably need to take a look at it while you can. Number 7, Dracula by Bram Stoker. Almost everyone would have heard about the story of vampires, werewolves, vampire hunters, all these supernatural powers. Dozens of films, tons of books in hundreds of languages were inspired by the book Dracula. It has been the grandfather of a whole new series of horror stories. The book Dracula was written by Bram Stoker 125 years ago. It draws extensively from Transylvanian folklore and history. Dracula is one of the most famous pieces of English literature. Many of the book's characters have entered popular culture as archetypal versions of their characters. For example, Abraham Lincoln is the iconic vampire hunter. If you are interested in any books here, we are in partnership with Amazon, and you may visit the link below to get a free download from Audible or a free trial from Amazon Prime. You could have come across stories of vampires left and right. Have you ever thought of reading the original book? Number 6, Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. Jane Eyre was published in 1847. Along with Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice, both are considered to be the most famous romance novels in English literature. The book tells the story of Jane Eyre, who grows up as an orphan at a very young age. How life and fate have been toying with her at every corner of her life, and how after years of separation and twists in life, she was able to marry her true love Rochester in the end. Readers feel sorry and happy for Jane as the story goes on. Jane Austen is a very powerful writer who brings you into her story so seamlessly. If you love to read Jane Eyre, you should probably read Wide Sargasso Sea by Jean Rhys as well. This book was written with the intention to be a prequel to Jane Eyre. It was a story about passion and betrayal and the tragedy of a woman's shattered dreams. Number 5, In Cold Blood, by Truman Capote. In Cold Blood is a non-fiction novel based on a true crime, and it is the first of its kind. 4 members of the Clutter family was murdered in the community of Holcomb, Kansas. The killers Perry Smith and Richard Hickok were arrested 6 weeks after the murders and later executed by the state of Kansas. Capote is a journalist as well as a writer. Capote has spent a very long time interviewing all the related people. He completed the novel after 6 years of hard work. Capote portrayed a very clear picture of his characters in front of his readers with all the details. Their dreams, ambitions, and desires were unfolded before the eyes of the readers. Ever since the book was published, it was translated into 30 languages and millions of copies have been sold. Number 4, 100 Years of Solitude, by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. 100 Years of Solitude is the history of a fictitious town Macondo which was founded by its patriarch, José Arcadio Buendia. For years, the town has been forgotten by the world and people there live in their own solitary. The descendants of Buendia have been ruling over the place for many years. At some point in time, it was inevitable that the tentacles of the world touches the peaceful town and smash its outer crust of solitude with brutal force. Civil wars begin, bringing violence and death to the peaceful Macondo. War and uprisings came and go. Macondo can never be itself again. 100 Years of Solitude is written by the Colombian author Gabriel Garcia Marquez. Since it was first published in May 1967, the book has been translated into 46 languages and sold more than 50 million copies. The book is widely recognized to be one of the most significant works in world literature. Number 3, The Great Gatsby, by F. Scott Fitzgerald.
Gatsby? What Gatsby?
Fitzgerald has written 4 novels and numerous short stories. The Great Gatsby is considered to be his masterpiece. In 1945, 1,200,000 copies of Gatsby were sent to American soldiers who were hard in fighting World War II. The story of the failure of the American dream and Jay Gatsby's unreturned love with Daisy Buchanan has deeply intrigued the heart of many young men fighting overseas. It has established its place among great American novels in the 60s. Nowadays, the book has accumulated over 30 million copies in sales. The story wields around the unreturned love between Jay Gatsby and Daisy, which finally leads to a tragic end. The Great Gatsby is widely considered to be a literary masterwork and a contender for the title of the great American novel. It entailed the fall of the great American dreams in the 1920s, right before the Great Depression. Number 2, To Kill a Mockingbird, by Harper Lee. To Kill a Mockingbird is a Pulitzer Prize-winning novel by Harper Lee published in 1960. The story takes place during 3 years of the Great Depression in the fictional town of Macomb, Alabama. It centers on Atticus Finch, a white lawyer who defends an African-American man against an unjust conviction for rape of a white woman. The book is written from the perspective of Scout Finch, who narrates events of her childhood and young adult years with her older brother Jem and their widowed father Atticus. The novel explores themes such as racial injustices within society and people's moral responsibilities to each other. This book has been translated into 40 languages and sold over 40 million copies worldwide. Number 1, Pride and Prejudice, by Jane Austen. The book was first published in 1813, and in the 200 years after it was first published, Pride and Prejudice have now sold more than 20 million copies. It is the most popular English literature up till now, and it constantly stays on the top of the most loved books for decades of readers. It has inspired endless modern literature such as dramatic adaptations, films, and TV series. The story spins around the turbulent relationship between Elizabeth and Darcy. They must overcome the sins of pride and prejudice of their time in order to fall in love and marry. Jane Austen is a master in weaving intricate plots beautifully together and portraying the character. Jane Austen's writing is abundant with humor and wit. If you have never read Jane Austen's book before, start with this one and there is a good chance that you will become hooked on her writing. This book has been translated into 40 languages and sold over 40 million copies worldwide. If you are interested in any books or videos here, you may visit the links in our descriptions below and enjoy a free trial or free download. This is all we have for you here today. Please don't forget to like, subscribe and click the alarm bell.
I'm certainly glad to see you again.